This is Brandon Cutler from AEW. You're watching Cole TV.
Greetings and salutations, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Pro Wrestling 60, where we recap everything that happened this past week in the world of professional wrestling. I'm Xlj the Og, joined by my partner in crime, my brother from another mother, Mr. B.
How are we doing out there, world? You forgot to say where I was hailing from this week.
I'm not sure. I've lost track. Where are you this week?
I am in Sickville, USA, or well, I should say on the mending sickness. You could say I've been down with the sickness as of late. But on the mend, got caught up on all the pro wrestling and everything, and
Well, at least there was that.
Quite a bit of it over this past week
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, it was a little busy.
Yep. So this, I believe, is probably going to be a supersized episode.
The network has allowed us to go over, thank God. So the network's so good to us. They love us.
Yep, they are so good, so good.
Yes.
If I would kiss the network on the mouth if I could.
But you don't want to get them a disease, so or whatever
It's
sickness you're down with. So
it is true.
But yeah, it was a busy week, busy weekend in the world of pro wrestling. So that being said, for the supersize episode, I'll let you do your thing.
Yep, I'm Mr. B-Roll. He is Xlj the Og, and we thank you for joining us for another episode of PW60. And I say the clock starts now.
Yes, indeed. And our top story this week is it was a big weekend in the world of professional wrestling, and we had two major shows going on. But the coolest fact to take away from it, Mr. B-Roll, is the fact that both these shows were main evented by the ladies. You know, it's this women's evolution or whatever you want to call it continues to grow in the world of pro wrestling and finally get caught up. It was cool to see this because both of these were very high-profile matches on these each respective shows. But, of course, we're talking about NXT Vengeance Day as well as Grand Slam from Australia. That being said, what did you think of the weekend overall?
I mean, overall, I equally enjoyed, both shows. I mean, I think it would have been a grand travesty if Toni Storm and Mariah May did not main event.
Oh God, yeah. But like, how do you follow that?
I mean, we all know what happened at All In, and yeah. I mean, both matches were absolutely great. But I mean, yeah, I mean, they really stole the show. Stole the show is the words that came to mind. And I feel like you can equally say that for both of these matches.
Yeah, because there was a lot of tremendous matches on both of these shows. And that being said, let's just get right into it. Let's talk about NXT Vengeance Day, which took place this past Saturday night in Washington, D.C. I can tell you this, man. I'm definitely getting used to these 6 p.m. start times. So kudos, WWE. I like being done early so I can chill and get to bed at a decent time. But big moment for one. Stephanie Fakur, as in the opening matchup, she defeated Fallon Henley for the North American Championship Not too big of a surprise, I would think. I think we all kind of thought it was a foregone conclusion, but big win for Stephanie Fakurs. Now she's a North American champion. Fallon Henley, kudos to her, though. She had a decent run, but what do you think of Stephanie Fakurs winning her first singles championship in the WWE?
I mean, you can say it was a matter of formality, if you will. If we all kind of thought it was foregone conclusion, but I did really I enjoyed this match um, with the kind of outside like ring antics a little bit. It ends up making Stephanie like look even stronger, and it gave it a more compelling story during the match. Um, Even though it seemed like going into it, it seemed like it was going to be somewhat predictable. Um, you see the the three women, which will be the next challengers. On the like watching the match, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I mean, we say it all the time. The NXT women's division is so freaking loaded, and I think it's very fitting how this pay per view started and how it ended.
Yeah, let's talk about how it ended because we have Julia retaining her NXT Women's Championship successfully in a fatal four-way. Some tremendous challengers, along with you had the former champion Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, and of course Bailey, all challenging. It was a tremendous four-way matchup, but Julia does pick up the win, retaining her NXT Women's Championship. And I got to say this: I feel like they made a statement there right at the end as we got Julia and Stephanie Fakir in the ring. But you talk about a loaded women's division. There you see it. Jordan Grace staking her claim that she is officially in NXT. So now she is joining the fray. And what was already a loaded women's division, now you add somebody like a Jordan Grace in this women's division. I mean, we say it all the time. It's the most stacked women's division in all pro wrestling. That being said, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but is this maybe the greatest era of women's wrestling for any division that we've seen to date? Because I think some could argue that. Because I mean, it's just you've got future Hall of Famer after future Hall of Famer after future Hall of Famer in this division right now.
That is a good question. Um, I feel like it's almost like I'm trying to compare it to something.
It's really hard too because
where
there's
where
it's
where you have
unprecedented.
where you have so many like that are red hot, like you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm thinking about like you know, the the tag teams from back in the day, right? Like when you had the Hardys, when you had the Dudleys, and when you had Edge and Christian, and that when the tag team division was so like that's like almost the only comparison. But I feel like this is even better.
Yeah, no, it's a great way of putting it because over the years there's been, errors of divisions where it was just like it was the best of the best, and like what you're seeing right now in NXT and that women's roster is the best of the best with the Julia, with Stephanie McCurry, Jordan Grace, Roxanne, who's probably going to get called up to the main roster, and rightfully so. Cora Jade, the list just goes on and on. I mean, shoot, man, you got a Bailey who is, a veteran, one of the four horsewomen. You could easily argue she's the best one out of the four, and she's wanting to work in NXT with these top talents. So just goes to show you how loaded that women's division is. But now we have Jordan Grace in the mix, and I'm telling you, man, it's going to be exciting to see what's going to happen here going forward in NXT in the women's division. Now, also, Fraxium had their hands full this past Saturday night, as they had a pretty good challenge on their hands, really, with the duo of Inamura and Briggs challenging them. But Fraxium somehow did it again, B-roll. They retained their tag team championships, but that's not the story people are talking about. The story people are talking about this mysterious group that attacked them at the end of the night, or at the end of the match, showing up, laying waste to all of the contenders there. Um, it's interesting. It's very interesting to see, because it's almost like, you know what? We messed up doing retribution the first time. Let's do it right this time. And I mean, that's kind of the vibe I get. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm very intrigued by this group. I don't know what they're going after, but apparently it seems like they're staking their names at gold, specifically the tag team gold and another title, which we will talk about. But that being said, what do you think of this group showing up at the end of the tag team championship matchup? And are you intrigued? Are you kind of like, well, let's wait and see? What do you think?
Um, I like it. I like them showing up. I kind of like how it was done. Um, I'll say one thing I didn't like was they were like, it seemed like on commentary they were trying to very quickly throw out these names of who they are. I don't know if you caught that, of like, oh,
I kind of
that's
missed that because I was so caught up in the moment. But I was wondering that I haven't went back and watched it, but it was kind of like one of those things when it happened was like in the back of my head of what you're saying. But I was just kind of like I was so intrigued by like what was going down. I wasn't even paying attention to what the announcers were saying.
in like that aspect of it, because it was like, I mean, I think it was Vic Joseph, or I don't think it was Corey Gray. I don't know who it was. I can't remember. But like they were just like trying to quickly name like the names almost. And maybe it wasn't during this one. Maybe it was during the other attack. Not to
Yeah, because we would
like,
see them again, which we're going to talk
yeah,
about here in moments.
yeah. But I I didn't like that part of it. Like I would have rather it just been like leave the mystery of like we have no clue who these guys are or what they're doing here.
But I guess also, I mean, their faces were exposed, so I mean, if you really pay in depth attention to it, you're kind of gonna know. But I mean, I mean, shoot, we're wrestling. We do this show, and I still really don't know these guys. I mean, I know they're obviously there at the training center, but I think somebody said something too. They're part of the LF G or something like that. Um, I don't know if that's the case, but anyways, it was interesting to see nonetheless. But we mentioned they made it a come. You would see them later on the night. Let's talk about the NXT Championship. As Obafemi would defend his championship against A Town Down Under, one Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. Let's talk about this spot here, man. That was sick. Where they do the superplex and he's on Theory's shoulders, man. That was a crazy spot, but. Obafemi did retain his championship against A Town Down Under, but yes, at the end of the night, Obafemi would get beat down by this group again. So it looks to me like they're kind of staking their claims. It's like they want gold, they want championship gold. So I think that's interesting who they targeted and who they attacked. And suggest perhaps maybe that's what they're coming after is the gold. Maybe are we going to see a combination of Fraxium and Obafemi to thwart their efforts? Who knows? But Obafemi once again is your NXT champion, as he did defeat Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. But that being said, we're talking about A Town Down Under. Obviously, this has been teased for months. And you know our tribal queen Bree has got something to say about this. So let's go to Bree with her tribal queen tidbit of the week.
Well, hey, hi, hello, guys. It is your Tribal Queen Brie with your Tribal Queen Tippet of the Week. And the other night, we had NXT Vengeance Day happen. And what I would have hoped for with Austin Theory becoming the new NXT champion did not happen. But it was still a banger of a match. All three of them did good. But one thing did happen. It was teased of, once again, the split of A Town Down Under, which I am eagerly awaiting for. Especially when Grayson Waller hit him with a stunner and he was made out to be the babyface. And come on, Paul, Sean, somebody pull the trigger already. He needs to turn face, go on his own, do his own thing. Austin Theory is that guy. I'm just saying. All right, that was my thoughts.
Yeah, at some point they got to pull it. I mean, this has been going on way too long. I mean, I don't know if they're going to do a WrestleMania match. I kind of doubt that. I just get it done and over with, man. And I mean, I think this was the biggest step towards getting to that because I mean, there was some significant moments there where it was like Theory's just kind of like, what the hell? And it seems like Theory would be turning babyface, but I don't know. We'll just have to keep waiting to see. And I guess at some point, guys, going to drive Bree nuts. Also on NXT Vengeance Day, we had Ethan Page go up against Javon Evans in a highly anticipated grudge matchup. I tell you what, man. Outside of the women's four-way, I think this was the best match of the night, in my opinion. I love this matchup. Like Javon Evans coming out of the gate, man, coming for blood. By the way, man, kudos to him. It looks like he's put on some weight. He's looking good, man. He's looking really good. What'd you think of this matchup?
Ethan Page is him. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love me some Ethan Page.
Mm-hmm.
And not to be like a Debbie Downer, but like the thoughts in this match or man AEW, you had this. Like this could have been the norm. And like I don't know, you can't help but compare as a wrestling fan, right? Like
Yeah.
um but yeah, I love me some Ethan Page, and yeah, I mean this match was awesome. I love the ending of it, and everything. Um, I mean they're set up. I mean they're set up to this rivalry could continue even.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, Ethan Page went over, but Javon Evans got over. You know, we talk
Yep.
about that classic adage all the time here, and I mean, I think that was the case here. I think this feud is far from over. It's exciting to see, and it's like I don't think at any point really in the NXT run for Ethan Page so far it's felt stagnant. Like at some points it's kind of like after he lost the title, it's like okay, what are we gonna do next? But it's everything. It's like it's made sense then, and it's just made him like this killer, just badass, you know, like that. I still never forget that moment on NXT where he busted Javon Evans' mouth open. So, like, I mean, the match, the story told itself. It's a great matchup, and like you say, I think we're far from over with this one. Maybe the biggest shocker of the night, though, out of Vengeance Day, was the fact that Eddie Thorpe would defeat Trick Williams in a strap match. I gotta ask you this, B-roll. Where does Trick go from here? What are we doing?
Yeah, he certainly did not whoop that trick. He got whooped
Mm-hmm.
in his trick. I don't know. Does he go home to Lash Legend and lick his wounds? Like I don't know because apparently they're a thing. I'm just recently discovering this, but I'm sure the world knew.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know what we do. I don't know where we go. Like, does he just go down like a dark path and like becomes like this like heel or something? Like, what do we? I don't know. It's interesting because I really didn't have that one. I really didn't think he was going to lose, but here we are, man. It's very interesting. And now the question is, does this put Eddie Thorpe in line for another title shot, perhaps, at the NXT Championship?
Who knows?
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see. Um, as big as Vengeance Day was, which it was a great show, that wasn't the biggest thing that happened in NXT this week, though. We got to talk about it. Absolute Ricky Starks making his debut. We reported it here last week that he was a free agent. I mean, matter of fact, we literally found out about an hour before we went on the air last week. And here he is the next night showing up on NXT. I mean, the crowd went ballistic. The IWC, they just, everybody's heads exploded. This just feels right, doesn't it?
It does just feel right. I mean, and everyone's pointing out how, like, like they're not even saying his name yet. Like they're just like, it's awesome. It's like everyone's like pointing out. It's like they seem like some of the red tape stuff that they normally do. Uh, they didn't do with this one. Like they just wanted to get him in there as quick as possible. Um, so yeah, I mean it's gonna be supposed to sign his official contract this week. Um, storyline wise at least, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it
Let me just. Here's the thing. Like, you want to talk about the star power and the capability and, like, how great Ricky Starks is? Here's the thing. I was watching a clip from Busted Open After Dark, and Bubba Ray Dudley had The Undertaker on there. And they're watching NXT live as they're filming. And The Undertaker stops what he does, kind of marks out a little bit, at least in his own way, and points out Ricky Starks. The Undertaker. That's right. The Undertaker was talking about Ricky Starks. If that doesn't tell you anything about Ricky Starks, I don't know what will. This man is a future world champion. And you mentioned it earlier, and not being a Debbie Downer with AEW and Papa Khan. But this, at the end of the day, this is my honest opinion on it. There's been some great stars that have come over from AEW, and this may be bold, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. And I'm included Cody on this too. Who Cody is the face of the WWE, whether you want to like it or not. I think Ricky Starks is going to end up being the biggest acquisition that WWE has gotten as far as from an AEW star jumping ship. Because this man is a future world champion. This man is a future main eventer. This goes beyond being a 5-tool player. Like, Ricky Starks is a generational talent. And I've said this before, and I'll say this a million times more. People want to talk about MJF as like the greatest on the mic today. It's this man right here. This man has everything that you want and everything you need to build a company around. And I'm telling you what, NXT's on Tuesday nights, they just got a hell of a lot more interesting because, as the man says, the revolution is going to be televised. That being said, let's go to our good buddy Husky Rhodes with a hot take.
What up, world? It is your boy, the human embodiment of Krusty the Clown with this fucked up hair. But anyway, I digress. So, Vengeance Day last night, great pay-per-view. And we saw that mystery little group raising a little hell, taking out the tag teams, taking out Obafemi. Very intrigued to see where it goes. And also, there's a little bit of a interesting question. Who is in charge of these guys? And an idea was brought up, I believe, by Richie Mars when we did the watch along on World Championship Wreckage YouTube. What if the man behind it is Ricky Starks? I don't know. I'm into it. What do you boys think?
Now that's interesting. That's an interesting take. I mean, it'd be cool, I guess, but at the same time, too, Ricky Starks is so good. I don't even think he needs to be tied in with the group or anything. Just let him do his thing.
No, yeah, just let him do his thing. Like my least favorite time of Ricky Starks that I saw was when he was like with like the team task. Like it was just like he was, I don't know, he was above them.
Yeah, fair. I think that's the best way of putting it, my friend. Well, NXT is cooking, but they weren't the only ones cooking this past weekend. Let's talk about AEW's Grand Slam in Australia. This event that had been building and building, but it was all about that main event, that epic encounter, the story that's kind of written itself, the rematch, first time since Wembley, timeless Tony Storm challenging Mariah May for that AEW Women's Championship. You could easily say this was the best match of the entire week. Honestly, it was such a good matchup. Every time these two get together, it's just like it's money, man. It is money, and this matchup was another incredible matchup. But timeless Tony Storm made history Saturday night in Brisbane, Australia, as she is now the first ever 4-time AEW Women's Champion. I love the finish of this match too, because it was honestly, it was like going back and forth. I was like, I don't know how it was going to go down, and it was one of the best small packages I think I've ever seen. Honestly, what do you think of Tony Storm against Mariah May from Grand Slam?
I mean, I absolutely loved it. Like you said, easily a contender for match of the week this week. Um, Probably one of my favorites from the week. Um, I think if I was to sum, if I a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? If I was to sum this story, this rivalry, and everything up, like look at Mariah May's face in this picture.
Yeah.
Like the anguish,
Mm-hmm.
the I mean, like you just capture it right there. And um, I know people have been like they say what they want to say about the title run and everything, but was it wasn't it all worth it for like the storytelling? I mean, like
What are people saying? You think people were like shitting
that
on the title run?
that it was just filler.
I see. I didn't. I I think that's just wrestling fans being fickle. In all honesty,
Yeah,
I mean, it's just come on, man, just enjoy it. I thought it was
yeah.
great what they were doing. Everything Mariah May did, because it built her up more to be this dominant badass who just couldn't be beat. Right? I
Hmm.
mean, I thought it was wonderful in my opinion. Um, but nonetheless, Tony Storm, like we say, made history. She's now a 4-time women's champion. Wonder where we're gonna go from here now. Like, I mean, obviously we're 1-1 at this point. So, are we getting a trilogy? You think? You think we're gonna get a rematch?
I'm not sure. I mean, you got Revolution coming up basically right around the corner. You definitely could there. I mean, AEW is, despite their flaws as of recently, and I mean the women's division is building.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting some new faces. You're getting some new dominant stars.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I mean, we'll just have to see. We'll have to see where they go from here.
Well, speaking of that women's division and new stars, a star-making performance Saturday night. Harley Cameron challenging for the TBS Championship against Mercedes Moné, and I mean this match was amazing. This was definitely her best match she's had so far. And Harley's been doing decent, but it's just like you go back to Golden Headlocks. I said I had her as my most improved Women's Wrestler of the Year, and I think you could easily see why, because I mean she is just killing it right now, and this rivalry, this feud with Mercedes Moné has been excellent. The build to it was wonderful. I mean is there? Here's the thing: is there anything Harley Cameron can't do? I mean, she can talk, she can sing, she's a ventriloquist for God's sakes. I think she said she speaks Mandarin or something like that, or Chinese or something. And she's talented in the ring. I mean, Harley Cameron is just like everything you wish you could have as a talent in the world of professional wrestling. Here's the thing: I hope after all this is settled now, like I hope they realize like how, because I mean she got a huge pop. I mean outside of the main event, honestly, this was probably like the hottest the crowd was all night. Really, um, I hope they continue using her on TV, because if they don't, man, they're really missing the boat here because she is so freaking talented. Um, what'd you think of the TBS Championship?
I mean, I'm gonna sum it up like this. She was able to get a freaking puppet over.
Yeah, they need to start selling those puppets seriously.
Like
Like,
I feel like that's the best way I can describe it. Like I mean, when you can do that, I mean, the rest of it is easy, right? I mean,
pretty
and
much.
I mean, and not to mention, I mean, even in ring, I mean, this match, I mean, it was it a 5 star? No, probably not. But it was it was just perfect, like perfect enough, and in some the best way I would describe it. And I mean, you knew she probably wasn't going to win, but
Yeah.
it didn't stop you from rooting for her, and
Mm-mm.
like wanted to. I mean, Mercedes is a heel, and they just need to keep
Keep
the
that
more
gravy
they
train
keep
going.
the more they keep playing into that, the better they will be off. Of I don't know. I kind of don't. I wouldn't. I kind of would almost be okay with this rivalry continuing.
Yeah.
I don't know what they'll do. So
Yeah. I would say this about this matchup. Like Mercedes has had some really good ones, but as far as like on television, and I'm talking specifically on TV, not like on pay-per-view, but on like TBS TNT, I think this may be one of her best televised matches, in my opinion. And she's had some good ones there, but I really enjoyed this matchup because there was times too where I thought like, holy shit, Harley's gonna do it. She's gonna win that championship. So, and when you get that type of moment, man, and that involved into the match and stuff, and the crowd there was incredible too. I mean, it was just like a perfect storm type of scenario. So, and once again, this is a perfect scenario presented where Mercedes went over, but Harley definitely got over. So I think if AEW is wise, which I'd like to believe they are, I think that you'll see plenty more of Harley Cameron to come in the following weeks on AEW. Oh.
okay, somebody clip that because we probably won't see her for 3 weeks. I'm sorry. That
You're
was
not
not very
wrong. You're
nice.
not wrong, though. You're not wrong. Let's talk about the Continental Championship was up for grabs as Kazuchika Okada would defend his championship against Australia's own Buddy Matthews. This was a really solid matchup too. But Okada, you dirty, dirty Okada, pulling out some tricks to win this one, but he retains his championship. But kudos to Buddy too, man, because did you see the beginning? I don't know if you saw the footage, but Buddy's entrance into the ring, like it looked like he messed his ankle up pretty bad. I mean, and hopefully he's okay, but just on his entrance, it looks like he twisted his ankle. So impressive showing, but Not surprised that the Rainmaker is still your Continental Champion, but this is another one of those matches too where it was. I thought for a split second, I thought, shit, Buddy is walking out with that championship. But what did you think of this Continental Championship matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I was right there. I was right there with you. Um, I was like, oh man, I was like, this is actually gonna happen. He's gonna take the belt off Okada. Uh, I was like, well, I mean, the crowd's gonna pop for it if if he does. Just yeah. Oh, Okada, you what levels will he sink to secure the victory? Uh, I like the part where he called him a wanker. I think we can say that on here. We let us say that.
I think so. I think the network's fine with that.
Okay.
Also, I don't know if you saw. Did you see the interview with him afterwards? That was like on their digital, where Okada says, "I respect you, but you're still a bitch." It's like, oh, Okada. But this was a tremendous matchup. Also, we got the Brisbane Street Fight with the Death Riders going up against the Rated R Superstar Cope and Jay White. I was a little kind of surprised with the outcome of this, with Mox choking out Cope, but considering they've got a match coming up here at Revolution, but um, I don't know. The match was fine, but it was such a loaded show. If I'm being honest, I think this was probably like the least. I don't
You
want to
could
say
have
enjoyable, but the one match I was least into. Let's say it that way.
you could have lived without this match. Like you could have lived without it. Like it was fine, but like wasn't nothing to write home to mom about, right? Like
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing the big takeaway for me for this match, I feel like this probably made Best Scout hate Wheeler Yuta even more.
That's
Like
hard to do. That is hard to do, but yeah, you're not wrong. Like I said, we'll see what happens as this builds up to Revolution with their rivalry. But like I say, this was the one match on the card I was just kind of like meh. But I tell you what, my favorite tag match on the show by far is this one. The Kenny Omega Will Ospreay tandem going up against the Don Callis family with Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. This was a great opener, man. This was an awesome opener. Great back and forth. I tell you, I got scared for Kenny there when he tried that poison Rana and landed on his head, it looked like, but apparently he is okay. This finish, though, this is sick. This freaking One Wing Angel and Hidden Blade, like, they practically murdered Takeshita there in Australia. I know Ospreay's your guy. You love Kenny. What'd you think of this tag match?
what would you call that move? Like the hidden angel? Like
I'd call it you're fucked. That's what I would call it.
yeah, so I love that this opened the show.
Mm-hmm.
Got the crowd hype, got the crowd going. Um, I will admit I was a little surprised because I'm thinking, oh, Kyle Fletcher, hometown boy, but man, Osprey is like so over. I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Oh
they
yeah.
were like they were going nuts
They were
for Os
brubbing their pants all over the place.
like like there was like a little bit of a pop for like Kyle Fletcher when he got introduced as like being from Australia, and then it was like fuck you.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, okay, great. Yeah, go fuck yourself. You're going against Bruv. So yeah. But no, like I agree, man. It was a tremendous opener, tremendous show. Grand Slam was a tremendous show. That Australia crowd, man, they brought it, and I mean the crowd looked awesome. I think they said something like the effects of 11,000 there or something. I mean, it doesn't matter how many really was there, but I'm telling you, dude, this was a great show. The crowd was awesome. It was a really good time, and that's the thing too. I think that's what AEW should probably utilize doing more is tapping into these international crowds. Because I mean, we see it all the time. You see it with WWE when they go overseas, man. These crowds are nuts. They're bonkers, man. They love it just as much as we do. We're spoiled rotten here in the States with wrestling. So if I was AEW, I would be planning on doing a lot more international tours. Really, I mean, we got the Forbidden Door coming up in August, which will be a big show. But it just makes sense to tap into that, and it was great to see this Australia crowd. I mean, so much so, like they freaking the crowd was so into it, they actually sold out of all their merch before the show even started. Which, I mean, that's unheard of going to a wrestling show. I can't think of a wrestling show I've been to where, I mean, they've had certain items sell out, but I've never had it where, like, every single piece of merch sold out. I mean, that just goes to show you the staying power of AEW there. And by the way, how bad do you want that Brove, like, Osprey jersey there?
So bad, I won't lie. I've looked on like third-party websites to try to find like a knockoff
I
of
knew
it
it.
because like I'll be honest, it doesn't come in my size. um, but but yeah, I really want one of those. And now they have a red one and they have a green one. It's like it's not cool, but yeah, like you were saying, the crowd, and like we forgot to mention this with like when we were talking about the Adam Copeland, Matt, like them like
Oh, them
singing.
singing him? Yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah, yeah.
I mean that might have been the moment of the night right there.
Yeah, it was pretty dope. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that crowd brought it, man. That crowd was wonderful. It was a great show. Like I said, I really enjoyed Grand Slam. But we're not the only ones here at PW60 that have their thoughts on AEW Grand Slam from Australia. Our good close friend, the best Gout Machine, had some things to say about Grand Slam. So that being said, let's go to the BGM.
Best Scout Machine are suffering the consequences.
P-Dub City. AEW had an amazing event recently in glorious Australia. Yes, Australia, the land of Vegemite, koalas, and kangaroos. And the AEW wrestlers got to experience Australia in all its majesty. Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker, he got to experience koalas in Australia. He immediately received a horrible case of chlamydia. Before losing in the opening match, Carl Fletcher also petted a koala, where he immediately got chlamydia. See, a little known fact out here in Australia is that all koala bears, or at least the majority of them, have a terrible case of chlamydia. Now, afterwards, after John Moxley was done trying to choke out Edge, he went out and got himself some Vegemite, smeared it all over his body hair, immediately petted a kangaroo, and then afterwards, he petted a koala, where he immediately contracted chlamydia. Mercedes Monet, she never touched a single koala. She rather went out and listened to the amazing music of Australia, such as AC/DC and Men at Work. I come from a land down under, where women go and they plunder. But I will say though, all the members of Men at Work all have a terrible case of chlamydia. Thanks to petting koalas and groupies, who turned out to be koalas dressed as groupies. Jeff Jarrett also has a horrible case of chlamydia. Unfortunately, he got that from his wife. Now, Grand Slam, it was one of the most amazing TV specials I'd ever seen, in front of a crowd of 10,000 chlamydia-stricken Australians. Afterwards, Toni Storm won the Women's World Championship. Everyone was excited. They ate their Vegemite. They all spread their chlamydia. And Mariah May was left without the World Championship. But fortunately, Mariah May was the only one that didn't receive chlamydia on this trip of trips, for she had sex with a sexy kangaroo. They hopped all over the place. Afterwards, the kangaroo received chlamydia thanks to the members of Men at Work, the greatest Australian band of all time, besides AC/DC. Well, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this trip of trips to Australia. I had to sit and watch some basketball for like 10 minutes. It made no sense to me whatsoever. Now, with that being said, I'm going to go now to the doctor, where I'm going to treat my chlamydia.
Well, I guess I didn't realize there was that much chlamydia in Australia, but now we know.
Is Best Cat okay? Because we didn't get a Shania Twain in that one.
You know, it's been a while since I think we've even heard Shania Twain. You know what? Probably because she has chlamydia. So there you go. Well, thank you so much, BGM. We appreciate you, brother. But like we said, it was a big week in the world of pro wrestling this past week, and one of those events that took place was actually New Japan Pro Wrestling's new beginning. And B-roll, the unthinkable has finally happened. The bridesmaid has become the bride. Hiroki Goto shocked the world and defeated Zack Sabre Jr. and finally, by God, finally winning the IWGP Championship. My God, man, what a tremendous moment this was. I gotta be honest with you. I was starting to really think it wasn't going to happen. I thought it would have happened like about 5 or 10 years ago. Like, this is one of the craziest stories. I really didn't think we'd be talking about Goto winning the IWGP Championship, but he did it. Did it in his hometown too, as well. I mean, I guess you could just say it was worth the wait. But I mean, Goto definitely deserving of this championship. I mean, this man has done just about everything in New Japan except for win that prestigious IWGP Championship. Let me ask you this: when you heard the news that Goto won the IWGP title from Zack Sabre Jr., were you shocked?
I mean, I would say definitely. It. I don't think it's one. I mean, we talk all the time about it being predictable, but it makes sense. Like I don't think anyone saw this one coming, um, at all. It's like, oh, Zack Sabre Jr. is going to defend his title against Hiroki Goto. Okay,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
like we not a second thought after, right? And then
No. But here we are. Goto is now your IWGP champion. Hopefully, this is going to be a great reign for him. I mean, he truly deserves it. A multi-time G1 winner. So Goto literally has done it all. And now he can say he is the IWGP champion. And of course, he's our wrestler of the week here on PW60. Now, another tremendous encounter from this past week, and this is another one. I would easily say this is the match of the week. Yoto Tsuji defending that global championship against Gabe Kidd, the red hot Gabe Kidd, and the build up to this was impressive. Like Gabe Kidd just pretty much proclaiming him and Tsuji and Uemura as the new Three Musketeers. But just this is a badass encounter. I mean, there is some chops. My God, there was one where Tsuji literally just chopped the soul out of Gabe Kidd. I've never heard a chop like that before in all my life. Like, it was sick. It would make Kenta Kobashi was proud of that chop. This matchup was awesome. Ended up going to a draw though. So it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here on down the road, because there's going to be a rematch between these two. But I tell you, Gabe Kidd, he's slowly being positioned to be that new kind of top gaijin in New Japan Pro Wrestling. What do you think about that? Because this is kind of like come out of nowhere, sort of, but at the same time, too, I think it's like been building within New Japan, especially if you watch like New Japan Strong and stuff.
yeah, I mean, most definitely. I think I said earlier, Ethan Page is him. Um, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit. Gabe Kidd is him. Strap a rock to this man. Like, no disrespect to David David Finley, the quote unquote leader of that group or whatever. No,
Yeah. No.
like like Gabe Kidd is in my opinion, should be your next top Gaijin star in New Japan.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And speaking of David Finlay and Bullet Club and stuff, at the end of this matchup, we did get House of Torture showing up, pretty much beating down everybody. And it does look like House of Torture has now separated themselves from the Bullet Club. Or I think they're proclaiming they're the leaders of the Bullet Club. I don't know, but fuck House of Torture. Like, fuck them forever and a day. Evil. You can go order DoorDash and get the wrong fucking thing for all I care, you piece of shit. Fuck you. That's my thoughts on House of Torture. Can't stand them. But it looks like we're going to be having a war between them and the War Dogs, so that's going to be interesting. I just wonder where David Finlay stands in all this, because we haven't really seen him since Wrestle Kingdom, or Wrestle Dynasty, we should say. And he's in the New Japan Cup, so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But also at New Beginning, we have new IWGP Tag Team Champions as Los Ingobernables de Japon's Tetsu Naito and Hiromu Tanahashi did defeat the Young Bucks to claim these IWGP Tag Team Champions. So they now are the champs. I mean, it was kind of like, not shocked here. I mean, I didn't think really the Bucks were going to have them for that long anyway. So in their first title defense, they do go down. But congratulations to Naito and Tanahashi as their new IWGP Tag Team Champions. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw from this past week, which was a loaded show over on Netflix. Of course, we had another couple of Elimination Chamber qualifier matches. Bayley would defeat Lia Valkyria to get into the women's match. In the main event, Logan Paul, yes, that Logan Paul would defeat Rey Mysterio to qualify for the Elimination Chamber. Also, we got that tremendous Jey Uso promo at the beginning of the show. Of course, we now know what's going to go down at WrestleMania for main event Jey Uso. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. War Raiders in a tremendous matchup with the American Made for the tag team titles as well. And you can see we got AJ Styles making his return to Monday Night Raw. And it looks like Dirty Dom trying to get in his face. But we're on that road to WrestleMania, baby. Raw was a great show. But SmackDown, dare I say, I think was even better, my friend. Because I love, there was a lot going on. But to me, this is another contender for match of the week. I love that women's championship matchup. Tiffany Stratton defending against Nia Jax was an epic encounter, man. Like the both of those two killed it in that match. Of course, Tiffany would retain her championship, but it would be by disqualification. Getting some help from Trish Stratus, who just so happened to be there in DC, and setting up for a matchup at the Elimination Chamber, which we'll talk about here momentarily. Of course, we kicked off the show with Cody and just like everybody and their mother coming out. And then, of course, a returning a returning Solo Sikoa. Also, we got the matchup between Los Garzas against Motor City Machine Guns. Was a great tag match. We had Naomi qualify for the Women's Elimination Chamber. She defeated Chelsea Green. That one hurt. Not gonna lie, our United States champion, losing like that.
And taking the pin.
Makes me sad. Makes me sad, B-roll. It's just not right. How can you do Chelsea like that? That ain't right. That ain't right. I'm just saying. Also, we got to see a little bit of a tease of the Wyatt Six there, it looked like. And interestingly enough, it was all in an Alexa Bliss backstage segment. So that was kind of cool. And I tell you what, that main event was tremendous with Damian Priest qualifying for the men's elimination chamber as he went through Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu. Chaos there at the end. with Cody and Solo and everybody else in between. Like I say, we are on that road to WrestleMania. But that road, it goes through Elimination Chamber. So let's talk about Elimination Chamber. We do know 5 of the 6 competitors in the women's and the men's chamber match. Of course, tonight on Monday Night Raw, we will determine who the final competitors will be. But in the women's side, we've got Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Bayley. Of course, either Roxanne or Raquel Rodriguez will be joining them. And then in the men's side of things, we do have John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, Logan Paul, and of course, either Seth Rollins or Finn Balor will be joining them, depending on what happens tonight on Raw. In addition to that, we do know it's going to be Tiffy and Trinity time. Try saying that 3 times fast. Got me choked up. But it's going to be Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus teaming up to take on Nia Jax and Candice LeRae at Elimination Chamber, of course, in Toronto, Trish's hometown. And also, too, we got to talk about this whole Sami Zayn KO like stuff. It looks like they're may not be having a match with some sort of confrontation at Elimination Chamber. As KO's pretty much just called him out. The Chamber is looking pretty solid, my friend. I'm pretty pumped here coming up in a couple weeks on Saturday, March 1st for the Elimination Chamber in Toronto. Is there anything that's sticking out about the Chamber so far that excites you the most, or you're just intrigued by the show?
I am intrigued by the show. I think for the men's, I think I'm a little surprised Roman's not in it.
Well, I think that's purposely done, though. I mean, they're keeping him off TV to whatever we're going with at Mania, which I'm assuming is involving something with Seth Rollins. I would assume.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I said for the longest time since the Rumble, I think Triple Threat, Punk, Roman, Rollins. I don't know.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about this. Like, we don't really know. Like, on paper, everybody say, okay, it's going to be Cena. But there's a really big case here for CM Punk, too. I think the Chamber's really going to come down between those 2 guys right there. I could see it going either way, honestly. At this point, I'd say it's 50-50. On the women's side of things, I don't know, because we do know, though, who the respective chamber winners will be challenging, because we do have 2 official matches for WrestleMania, as we mentioned before. Main event, Jey Uso has staked his claim that he will be challenging the Ring General Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania in Vegas. I wasn't too shocked with that. I mean, that seemed like the path we were going down anyway. But that now pretty much guarantees whoever wins that men's chamber is going to challenge Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. Now, on the flip side of that, Charlotte Flair has chosen her. She will be challenging, and it is, in fact, going to be Tiffany Stratton. So it's Charlotte Flair, Tiffany Stratton for that undisputed women's championship coming up at WrestleMania. And therefore, whoever wins the women's chamber is going to challenge Rhea Ripley for her women's championship. So it's the most wonderful time of year, my friend, is it not? As we are on that road to WrestleMania. Speaking of WrestleMania, we also found out that Michelle McCool will be the second inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. I tell you, B-roll, I can't think of a more disturbing competitor. It's long overdue for her to go in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. Michelle McCool's contributions is second to none with what she did in her career. An incredible performer. And it's sad because I think a lot of times people are like, oh, Undertaker's wife, but like, nah. She was an amazing performer. She was one of the top performers in that Divas era. And you know, you can talk about the Divas era as kind of like, you know, whatever. It was what it was. But I mean, she did an amazing job, and she is definitely deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. So we here at PW60 want to wish Michelle McCool some congratulations on joining the WWE Hall of Fame. She has had an incredible career. It's always awesome to see when people have great careers and to go on and and to get that success. And speaking of careers in the world of pro wrestling, one of our own family members here has started their path, as you know, in the world of professional wrestling. That's our good friend Sienna, and she's got some advice for us once again this week as she tells us about her journey as she gets into the world of professional wrestling. So let's go to Sienna.
So someone commented on one of my videos, and this person did comment say that they went to a wrestling school, and while they were in a wrestling school on the first day, they told them if you're in a relationship, you will not have time for them. It will not work out because you won't have time for them. And plus, there's like other people that has like stories about like their relationship with their significant others, that they're not wrestling fans or they're just a casual wrestling fan, and numerous of like stories about like, you know, you're gonna have to make sacrifice, you know, if you're in a relationship, engaged, or even a marriage too. From my perspective as a wrestling fan and also someone that is in the wrestling industry and currently in training, like, it's all about having like a healthy communication with your significant other, especially the fact that they will support you whatever your avenues are doing and your pursue your dream and your passion too. They'll definitely respect like what you're really into. They'll respect how much like you're very dedicated to. I've seen like other content creators and especially like wrestlers and wrestling personality and whatnot that are not into wrestling, but they will be there side by side for moral support. Even if they're not into it, they will definitely watch it online just for like, you know, to see what they're into and whatnot. And you never know like if they're going to be really into wrestling one of these days. You know, it's just a slowly but surely process. It's all about like having like a healthy boundaries, and plus opposite do attract no matter what too. Now then, the only thing I would say if it's a red flag, if someone is actually changing your mindset, changing who you are after they'll be like saying like so many negative things about pro wrestling and anything like that, and also like other red flags too besides that, leave that person right away, because that is not healthy within a relationship, and it's also not best for you and for yourself too. And especially like for other people that are saying like, yeah, this person's not good for you and all that. Besides the point, it's all about like finding like a common ground between you and your significant others. And for those of you that are like currently single and saying like, oh, I'm not gonna be finding that person that's really into wrestling and all this, listen, there's million people around the world, you know. You just gotta be patient, but also at the same time, just continue on what you gotta do. Be best for yourself. You can have your friends, your family, and everyone too, and you what matters, all right? But anyway, y'all, that's all I gotta say so far. Anyway, happy Valentine's Day, Valentine's Day, and etc., y'all.
Thank you so much, Sienna, and happy Fallon Bros Day to you as well, my friend. But yeah, she had some great advice there. But let's talk about Dynamite from this past Wednesday night, as it was technically the go home show for Grand Slam. Of course, the Max Caster Open Challenge was answered by none other than Hangman Page. Let's talk about that briefly here. What are your thoughts on this whole Hangman Page kind of redemption storyline that he's got going on right now? Because it seems like he's kind of realized the error of his ways or something and is trying to like get back in the good graces. What do you make of all this?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I'm most excited for the direction I think we're going, which I think we're getting a Hangman and MJF feud.
Yep.
And
God, that's so much better than a Jeff Jarrett and MJF feud, I'll just say.
I think it's going to be what they both need because they both just been kind of like, I don't know, like wandering kind of out in the wilderness, like
and stagnant. Yep.
They've been there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is something that we can
sink our teeth into.
Yep, exactly. Took the words right out of my mouth. I'm not gonna lie. I actually really enjoyed this episode of Dynamite. And I feel like it's the first time I've been able to say that in a while.
That's good.
I like the tag match, but you know me, I like my tag team wrestling.
Hey, it was great seeing the guns back in action.
Yep. I mean, just the way, even just like the way they were able to work the crowd in that match. Anytime you have dueling chants, it's always great.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. Now we got this new group with Samoa Joe and Hook and Shibata. What were we calling them? The Ops or something like that.
the ops.
The
I don't know.
Ops, I
I don't
guess.
know what no ops stands for. I feel like it
Okay,
stands for something,
I
but
guess it's kind of sounds fun. I don't know. I'm like,
I don't
okay,
know.
it's Joe and Shibata and Hook. So I mean, we'll see. Of course, with that weird kind of stare down thing with Bandito and Jericho that happened. Like,
Yep, that happened. They're like, oh, we're in Texas.
like,
We'll have
I,
Texas standoff.
sure, yeah, that happened. I tell you what, I enjoyed the most about this episode was getting to see Megan Bain in action, and then kind of the encounter between her and Chris Statlander. Of course, Chris Statlander picking up a win, but Megan Bain coming out afterwards to kind of throw down on her. That's a matchup I would definitely pay money to see. So, but yeah, like you say, Dynamite wasn't a bad episode as we now are on that road and getting closer and closer to Revolution. We do now officially know that Cope will challenge John Moxley for the AEW World Championship. We also found out some other matches this week. Apparently, it's going to be a steel cage matchup between Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. And then Kenny Omega is going to challenge for the international title, but
But
what the
wait,
fuck
but
is
wait.
this?
The
International
International
Championship
Championship Series.
Series. Okay, so let me get this straight. It's Orange Cassidy against Roderick Strong. The winner gets a shot at Takeshita. And then whoever wins between Takeshita and them goes on to Revolution to face Kenny. Like, what the fuck? Like, just can we just? I got nothing. Like, just fucking. It just the whole thing sounds fucking stupid to me. Like, we're getting Takeshita and Kenny. Just fucking say it. Like, it
Like,
just.
and there, and here's the thing: there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing Takeshita and Kenny.
Oh, 100
Like
percent.
this graphic, it should show two match things. It shouldn't show this BS. Like if you want to
Why are
have
we? What is a series fucking about it?
if
What
you
is a
want to have
series?
Takeshita
It's
like
fucking a number one contenders match, and then they fight Takeshita, and then whoever wins that goes against Kenny. That's not a fucking series, is it?
like if you want to do these matches,
Quit giving them stupid little fucking names. Ugh.
like just have these matches just be on the show. Like you don't have to like we were talking about this before we were on there. This was my gripe. You basically had one of your biggest stars on the pay-per-view say that he was challenging Takeshita for Revolution. And then you go on social
Apparently,
media or their website, you're like, "Oh, well, hold on a second."
well, I guess Tony did a line of whatever substance and decided, oh yeah, championship series, that'll be great. It'll be wonderful. I don't know, like just fucking. It's gonna be Takeshita and Omega and Revolution. Like it's gonna be a great matchup. So
And it should be. Like
yeah,
that's what it should be. Like that's where the story is. Like you don't
don't make it more convoluted than it has to be, and that's what that is. You made it just fucking don't. Just don't.
these are the frustrating, confusing things that happens that that frustrate us.
Yep, and it just yeah seems to continue to happen. But let's go back and talk about NXT from this past week, because this will go home show for Vengeance Day. Of course, we got Cora Jade and Bailey kicking off the show. Of course, Roxanne doing her best Bailey cosplay, which I think she recycled that outfit from like a couple years ago when she dressed up as Bailey in a Halloween Battle Royal. But uh, also, you got to see Lexus King successfully retain his Heritage Cup against JDC from the system of TNA. We got to see Ricky, of course, we mentioned the Ricky Starks debut, which was huge. But that big main event, man, the cage matchup with Tony D'Angelo retaining against Ridge Hodlund, the North American title. But we got to see Sean Spears, this new group he has, and them all show up and pretty much laid a waste to the family. Of course, then we got that turn at the end. NXT, man, we say this all the time, but the best women's division, I guess they've got like, about 3 or 4 different stories kind of going on right now that's very compelling. So I can't wait to tune in this next Tuesday night and see what's going to happen on NXT. Of course, we got to talk about their partner in crime, so to speak. Let's talk about TNA Wrestling, TNA Impact from this past week. And this was a loaded show, B-roll, with championships galore on the line. Of course, Joe Hendry retaining his TNA championship against Jake something. We also got to see Masha Slamovich retain her Knockouts title against Savannah, which was a great matchup. Mustafa Ali and just him continuing to petition to be the face of TNA, but people not buying that. And also, it was a very important night as it was the last match of Josh Alexander in TNA against Eric Young. Not going out the way he wanted to, my friend, as Josh Alexander did lose to Eric Young. But now he's a free agent. There's some rumors going all around, possibly signing with AEW. Nothing set in stone yet, so we'll have to see where Josh Alexander lands up. But Josh Alexander's not the only one gone from TNA, though. Several executives this week have officially announced they were leaving TNA Wrestling, including wrestling talents Christy Hemme and Josh Matthews. But the big one was the TNA, the COO, Anthony Sassone. So is this setting up for something possibly with WWE buying them out? Because I think that's what people are thinking. I don't think that's the case just yet. We'll see if somebody from Anthem, who they end up appointing into that role. Hell, who knows? Maybe they bring Scott D'Amore back. How crazy would that be? But then again, this is the world of pro wrestling, and anything can literally happen. But this, to me, is one of the coolest and best things that happened all this past week in pro wrestling. Chris Bay with an update on his health. As you see here, there was a clip online that surfaced where he was actually walking got out of his seat, which it's crazy because a lot of people were saying he would never walk again. And here we are X amount of months later, and Chris Bay is walking. So hopefully, obviously, things are going in the right direction for him, and hopefully he has a healthy life and continues to get better. But, I mean, how cool of a moment is that to see Chris Bay walking again after that horrific tragedy that happened several months ago at TNA tapings in Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely amazing. I mean, kudos to him. I mean, obviously, so when people see that, greedy wrestling fan immediately goes, like, do you think he'll be able to return to the ring? And, I think ultimately that probably is what he wants. But, ultimately, all things aside, just as long as he's safe and healthy, I mean,
100%.
That's the most important thing. I mean, going from being able to told to you probably won't be able to walk again or you may not be able to walk again to being able to walk again. That's a victory. I mean, that's a victory, man. I mean, pretty sure he has kids. I mean,
yeah, it's a big moment for him, man. We're happy to see it, and hopefully this continues on as he is on that road to recovery. Well, it's that time of the show where we need to spice things up a little bit. So let's go to our good friend Spicy Guac with the spicy
Guac here with a spicy take. If you like ketchup on your mac and cheese, you are the same type of person that will defend Vince Russo just for the sake of defending Vince Russo. You're a fucking psychopath, and I hope you get the day you deserve.
Who the hell would put ketchup on macaroni? That's crazy. I've never heard of doing that. No. Do you do that?
So I have been known that if we're having like ketchup or hot dogs and macaroni, right, or something, if there's ketchup on the plate, here's the thing. Here's what you do. If you have like this ketchup on the plate and some of it accidentally gets into the macaroni, it's really not that bad. Now, do you go in there and pour the ketchup over the macaroni?
I'm
No.
not listening. I'm not listening to this blasphemy. I mean, I get it if it's accidental, but I that's as far as it goes, my friend. Well, um, got a couple big signings this week in the world of pro wrestling too, as Kenta has officially signed with Pro Wrestling Noah. This is huge, B-roll, because Kenta is returning to where it all began for him. Pro Wrestling Noah was where Kenta came to fame. So it's exciting to see him get to come home to his home promotion. I'm sure Noah's excited. Like, this is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see what he does. Also, a big free agent out there as well. We've got El Hijo del Wagner Jr. officially has signed with AAA. So now he is going to be working with AAA. It's going to be, it makes sense to me. I mean, he's a journeyman. It's been everywhere from Mexico to Japan to the States and so on. So, going to be interesting to see what all he can get accomplished there in AAA. Now, this to me, it's really excites me. Demolition signed Legends deals with the WWE. This is awesome because I hope this leads to a long overdue Hall of Fame induction for the Demolition, because it's long overdue. Demolition's one of the greatest tag teams of all time. It's unfortunate a lot of times they just get forgotten about because, oh, they're Legion of Doom knockoffs. But I'm telling you, dude, Demolition was one of the best tag teams. I love Demolition. Had one of the best wrestling themes too, by the way. But super excited, and I hope, like I say, this leads to a Hall of Fame induction to Demolition. Well, this past weekend, it was loaded with pro wrestling action. We got to talk about this. The Jersey J Cup took place this past Saturday and Sunday. It was an incredible tournament. Some great non-tournament matches. My God, that Gabe Kid Mance Warner match. Holy shit, that was crazy. But one of which, congratulations to Masha Slamovich, who has successfully for 2 years in a row, not only retained her JCW championship where she won it last year, but she's also the J Cup winner. So congratulations to Masha. It was a hell of a final with her and Alec Price. But you'd love to see it. But the Jersey J Cup was loaded, my friend. Also, it's come out this past week that the Road Dog, Jesse James, has been named as the co-lead writer for Friday Night SmackDown. I think Jesse James, the Road Dogg's got a great mind for pro wrestling. One of the all-time great stickmen. I'm for this, man. I think this is great. I'm excited to see what he's going to do going forward. He's been there before, so to give him in a higher role up there, kudos to him. And man, we've talked about Bailey a lot this past week, and she had one of the busier weeks, man. She had that qualifier on Monday night against Lia Valkyria. Of course, she was in action against Cora Jade on Tuesday. Right after that, this past Friday, she competed in the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game Challenge. So, and of course, we'll fly back to DC to compete at that NXT Vengeance Day in that main event. So Bailey all over the place competing in the All-Star game. Who would have thunk it, man? Bailey is a baller. That is random, my friend. But not as random as this. Let's go to Brian with Brian's random moment of the week here on PW60.
Yeah. Time again for Brian's random moment of the week. Yeah. Of
going back to the goatee, I think I explained it a few weeks ago that I used to always keep just a goatee and then I grew the beard out. Wife didn't like it. She got used to it. Trying this for a while, may go back to the beard. Who knows? Yeah, semi-slick all the way. Cool, great. All right, so got to thinking about this thought. I know I did the What If series, and we'll come back to some more of that in wrestling history, maybe some what ifs currently. But I was thinking about certain feuds in wrestling history, and a feud that we witnessed continuing and kind of starting back up is Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May. And of course, if you saw the Grand Slam in Australia on Saturday night, you know that Toni Storm has now won the AEW Women's Championship for a 4th time. So the question I have first, it's kind of a two-part question. Where do those two go from here? Do they continue their feud right away and go even longer? Do you continue to strike while the iron's hot? Or, you know, you don't want that feud to be like some feuds like Damian Priest and Finn Balor for a while where it just kind of drags on a little too long and loses a lot of steam. So, number one, where do you see the feud between Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May going from here? Do they end it? Do they end it temporarily and it comes back later, which is part of the second question. What are your favorite reoccurring feuds? Now, that'd be ones that will feud for a while, they won't interact, and later on come back. Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin gives a great example. You know, they would feud over the IC title, then later no title involved, then the WWF title. Another one, of course, will be that's still, you know, waiting to be done again, is Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland in AEW. So give me your top 5 or however many reoccurring feuds in wrestling history or currently. So answer the questions there. What do you think will happen with the Mariah May, Toni Storm, and top 5 reoccurring feuds?
Oh, that's a good one. I like it, Brian. Well, we thank you so much, my friend. We love you, sir. And you know who else we love here on PW60? We love our content creators. And this week, our Ruby Ringside Wrestling Content Creator of the Week is none other than All Wrestling Marcasia, which I apologize in advance if I butchered your name there. But she's got some pretty cool videos, man. Like, she's got, I love, like, you know, doing the Serena Williams like crypt walk or to the God, I'm so freaking like I'm an old fucker. Anyways, she's got some cool videos you should definitely check out. Give her a follow. She also has a show, and it's just getting kind of back into wrestling TikTok and whatnot. So if you're not giving her a follow, go give her a follow. All Wrestling Marquisia is our Ruby Ringside Wrestling Content Creator of the Week. Also, this past week, we mentioned earlier the LFG Legends and Future Greats did premiere on A&E. And of course, A&E's back to doing the WWE Sundays. But I'm intrigued by this show, especially the fact that Undertaker's involved on it too. It's still kind of weird to me to see, like, you know, the kind of that behind the scenes with Taker. This is yet opening the door up even more for the Dead Man. So, of course, you got Bubba Ray Dudley on there, Booker T and Mickey James as coaches. So, but you can catch that every Sunday over on A&E now. And also announced this week is NXT's Roadblock will be taking place on March the 11th. But what's of importance of this is actually going to be at the Madison Square Garden Theater. So the theater there, right, it's attached to MSG, will be hosting Roadblock. Of course, this will be the last big NXT show before Stand and Deliver WrestleMania weekend. So it's cool to see. And our final story is a sad one. Unfortunately, we've lost another great in the world of professional wrestling. As for Japanese great Gran Hanada just recently passed away. Of course, he was known for as kind of like one of the first real kind of young lions in the New Japan IWGP system there. Of course, training under so many greats like the late great Antonio Inoki, former great light heavyweight champion, a tremendous competitor, and he will deeply be missed. But rest in peace, Gran Hamada. You had a tremendous career that transcended beyond just working in Japan as like one of the all-time great professional wrestlers. Well, Mr. B-Roll, we've done it again. Talked about everything that happened this past week on this supersized episode of Pro Wrestling 60, and we can't wait to do it again. It's going to be another big week this week as we continue on to that road to Elimination Chamber, Revolution, and, of course, WrestleMania. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Pro Wrestling 60. I'm Xlj the Og along with Mr. B-Roll. We'll see you next week on another episode of PW60. Everybody take care. Have an amazing week. Bye!